What a...
And g'day viewers.
Are you tired of feeling overwhelmed by anxiety?
Do you want to learn effective ways to find relief in times of turmoil?
Then this podcast is for you.
Tune into this week's episode about anxiety and ways to find relief in times of turmoil, where we discuss practical strategies for managing anxiety and finding peace of mind.
We'll share our insights and experiences, and we'll provide you with actionable tips that you can start using today. Don't let anxiety control your life. Join us and take back control. What a...
And g'day.
Welcome to our podcast today about anxiety. We're going to talk about anxiety and how prevalent it is today in our society. It's something that everyone experiences at some point in their lives, but for some people, anxiety can become overwhelming and debilitating. We're going to explore the causes of anxiety, how to decrease it, and most importantly, we want to remind you that everything is going to be okay.
Anxiety is completely normal, and it's a completely normal reaction to stress and can be beneficial in some situations. It's our body's way of telling us that something isn't right and prepares us to deal with potential danger. However, when anxiety becomes chronic or excessive, it can absolutely interfere with our daily life and cause significant distress.
Anxiety disorders are one of the most common mental health conditions globally, affecting millions of us. If you have anxiety, you are definitely not alone. And if your anxiety is crippling and stopping you from living life, and we know how it can stop people in their tracks, please consult your doctor and seek professional medical assistance.
So why is anxiety so prevalent in our society today, Jenny?
Well, let's take a step back in time. When we were living the caveman life of hunters and gatherers, Mitch, our ancient mammalian systems protected us.
Steroid hormones, including cortisol and a bunch of others, activated the body's sympathetic nervous system, causing the flight or fight response, resulting in speeding up your breathing, dilating your pupils, pumping blood to the muscles, and increasing your adrenaline response, making us ready to run away from the ensuing saber-toothed tiger or bear, or allowing us to stand and put up a fight.
It's not often these days that we need this response with the type of stresses we currently face. There aren't a lot of saber-toothed tigers. I don't think there are any left.
I haven't seen one lately.
Or bears to run away from. However, the past few years marked by a pandemic, outbreaks of war, economic downturn, global natural disasters, tragedies, earthquakes, floods, etc., and the ensuing racial and identity unrest, we've come face to face with stresses we could never have imagined prior to 2020. The causes and health impacts of stress have been widely discussed, as have a host of tools for tackling the amount of anxiety we feel in our daily lives.
And anxiety around things like financial matters is huge. Real estate is a great example of this. You know, auctioning a house and having the sale not proceed or getting no bids, and then multiple attempts to sell failing, can leave you with a giant knot of anxiety in the pits of our stomachs. The what-ifs come flying in. You know, our neighbour just recently went through that several attempts until it finally sold. They were really anxious about it. And I remember it also happening to us. And at the time we decided to switch the anxiety switch around by playing a Taylor Swift song we found on one of the kids' playlists. It was called Are We Out of the Woods Yet? I remember singing that as we walked through the park, don't you?
I do. It worked as a daily reminder that the anxiety we were feeling, all this, was just around material stuff, right? No one's life was at stake. So basically, if it's around material stuff, get a grip. It's going to be okay. Another reason for the increase in anxiety in this is the really hectic pace that we live now. We live in a world that moves so quickly and it can be overwhelming. We're exposed to a constant barrage of information through social media, emails, news, and other sources. And this information overload can cause us to feel anxious and overwhelmed. For your health's sake, we really encourage you to disconnect from your device. Set up times where you can't be contacted. Leave your phone at home while you walk or exercise. Be where you are in that moment. If you're out walking, look around at your surroundings. Don't take calls. This is your time to enjoy being, so be. Exercise is so helpful in getting cortisol levels under control, and it's been shown to reduce anxiety and improve overall mental health. So please, when you're exercising or walking, leave the device alone and let it, just put it away from you. Leave it back at the house and just have that time to yourself.
Absolutely. And I used that same strategy when we went to the UK recently and just didn't look at any emails or anything from work for the whole 4 weeks. Just let that be and enjoyed being where we were. And there's also pressure to succeed in our society. Many people feel like they have to constantly perform and achieve at a high level, which can be really stressful. And I remember several years ago, while I was in a really high pressure work environment, I found myself struggling with irrational anxiety regarding my performance and how my boss perceived me. And it got to the point that I would shake every time I saw his name come up on a phone call or when I saw an email coming from him. I'd never experienced anything like this before. And this sudden wave of anxiety was new and confronting for me. And it caused me to second guess all my decisions. And at the time, I didn't feel comfortable about discussing it with anybody, even you, Jenny, for quite some time until I eventually shared how I was feeling with you. And together we used emotional freedom technique, which we're going to talk to you about a little bit later, to address the issue. And the results were amazing. I felt immediate relief after the first session. And with a few more sessions, I never experienced that anxiety again.
Yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic tool. It was almost like that whole response to that relationship and the actual relationship was alchemized.
Oh, it was. And the response, I got on with my boss so much better after that and was never felt that anxiety anymore. And it was just, I don't even know what was causing it. It was just.
You don't have to know. Yeah. All we know is that anxiety is real, and it really sucks.
Yep, Sure does.
Play on.
And let's not forget COVID, right? The pandemic has caused a lot of uncertainty and anxiety in people's lives, particularly with the younger generation who was subjected to social isolation through lockdowns. So, the pandemic brought up a lot of fears and uncertainties for people, and it's important to acknowledge that. And some of the anxiety that we see, particularly with our kids' generation, is actually drug-related, specifically with all the different strains and strengths of marijuana and pot going around there. And it's kind of crazy how much variation there is out there. And it was really interesting. When we were travelling in the UK last year, we met this super friendly couple from Canada who owned a few marijuana cafes. It was a fascinating discussion that we had with them.
And it was. They introduced us to not bartenders, they have bud tenders.
That's right.
That's a good play on words.
It was.
Anyway.
And so they were explaining to us how, because it's legal and controlled in Canada, they're able to provide people with all these different types of marijuana that don't have adverse effects that we sometimes see on the street weed here in Australia. So they ask customers a bunch of questions to try and figure out which strain would be best for them. It's really fascinating, and honestly, it's a good argument for why we should probably consider legalising marijuana here so it can be monitored and controlled. But that's a different story.
Yeah, big topic. And look, she was a pharmacist prior to leaving her pharmacy chains and starting up I don't know what brand or shops they were called. But anyway, it was a really interesting perspective. She was educated and qualified as a pharmacist and had taken that knowledge, in a different direction. But yeah, the drug-induced anxiety can be crippling as well. Keep your eyes out for each other, please. We all need to look after each other with this.
Now, there are also ways to decrease anxiety, even in the midst of challenging times. So firstly, it's important to identify the source of your anxiety. Ask yourself questions like, is it a specific situation like public speaking or flying? Or is it more generalised, like a constant sense of worry and unease?
A really good way to do this is to sit quietly with a pad and a pen and write it down, getting it out of your head and onto the page. And this is with everything. I hope we never lose the skill of writing. It's so important. If you can write it out of your mind and look at it in front of you, you're allowed to look at it a lot more objectively. It's incredible. Because anxiety, as I've experienced, my kids have experienced, lots of my clients have experienced, sometimes it's totally irrational, and that's okay. Yep. And writing it down can let you look at it and just think, okay, so here it is on the page. Let's have a think about this. And sometimes just doing that can just make the anxiety, it's out of you and it's onto the page. It's very powerful.
Good advice. And once you've identified the source of your anxiety, you can start to take steps to manage it, and that's one of the steps, writing it down and just getting it out of your head. Some effective ways to manage anxiety are through relaxation techniques like deep breathing, meditation, or yoga. Deep breathing and meditation are things that we do on a daily basis.
There are lots and lots of Google, YouTube sort of sessions for breathing techniques, for meditation. There's some online yoga. Please just find someone you resonate with. Sometimes people will say, well, I just don't like his voice or her voice. There are thousands. Please find someone that can help you, because these are very simple strategies. And if you can start doing these on a daily basis, you will start to feel better.
Yeah, and they can help calm your mind and body. And we've also got some great free resources that are available to help you. So just go to our website and look up our free stuff.
Correct. And as I said, if you resonate with us, that's great. If you don't, please don't stop there. There are so many people trying to help. And they're trying to help because this is real. And it's real for all of us.
Mm-hmm. And it's also important to take care of yourself by just simple things like getting enough sleep, eating a healthy diet, and avoiding excessive use of drugs and alcohol, because these things can all contribute to anxiety.
And of course, seeking professional help is always an option. If your anxiety is interfering with your daily life, it's going to be helpful to talk to a therapist or a counsellor who can help you develop coping strategies and work through your feelings. There is no shame in seeking help. In fact, it takes a lot of strength to admit you need support. If your anxiety is causing distress, make sure you reach out to your doctor, or in Australia, go to the fabulous teams at lifeline.org.au, or you can get them on the phone on 131114, or the Beyond Blue team on 1300 224 636. If you're listening from overseas, please reach out to your local medical and emergency services. They will have resources like this. We've also put together a free EFT session to help you manage your anxiety and panic. Go to the podcast description section for the link, or go to our website and find the free stuff.
And finally, we want to remind you that everything is going to be okay. Okay? Everything's going to be okay. It can be easy to get caught up in our worries and fears, but it's important to remember that we are capable of handling whatever comes our way. And it's important to remind ourselves of all the great things that we have in our lives, the people we love, the things we enjoy, and the positive experience we have.
Gratitude and positive thinking can go a long way in reducing your anxiety. So be kind. Please be kind to yourselves always. And until next time, love and blessings.
See ya.
Thanks for watching this video, and we hope that you got a lot out of it. We would love it, be grateful and appreciative if you would take the time to like this video, comment if you feel inclined, and share with any friends that you think would benefit from this. We are constantly creating new great content, so also remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the awesome material that we have coming up. See you soon.